Hi, everyone. First of all, I would like to welcome you to Startup Academy. Uh, I believe and we believe that this is going to be your platform to kickstart your entrepreneurial journey in China as an international student. Some of you might have already have an idea. Some of you don't are planning to launch your startup or business. So I believe that within the next few months and few weeks, we will go on this journey together and hopefully launch something that you'd be proud of. So first of all, our motto is learn, build, fund. So this is a platform, the sessions that we're going to have, this is a platform for you to learn, like what is startup? What is the differentiation between startup and business? And how can you think like a founder? And how can you become a founder? Because it's not about what kind of idea and how good of idea you have. It's about how do you execute and what kind of identity you build as a founder. There's a saying in a VC world that they don't really invest in ideas, they invest in founders. So if you have the skills of a founder, then you don't have to care about getting funds. Eventually, if you build a really good product and if you consistently keep iterating and keep pursuing your entrepreneurial journey, stick with an idea and try to improve it as long as possible, eventually you'll get fun. And that's what's been happening historically. If you look at all the top startup companies, they have done in this way. A really famous example nowadays is like OpenAI. They have been building for 8 years, and then in 2022 they launched their first version, and since then they skyrocketed. So that's how a startup works. And I will talk about more what's the differentiation between a startup and a business. But if I at first look at the demographic of the founders worldwide, I think you are really you are at a sweet spot. 45% founders graduated from QS top 50 schools. And I think some of you are already here from Tsinghua, Peking, but also a lot of other Chinese universities, Beihang, which are also top universities, but that's not the key point. School is not the key point. The key point is 48% has international backgrounds. And that's where you stand. All of you here, I mean, most of you here are international backgrounds. And some of, I think one or two might be from China, but when they're going to go out, they're going to US for studies or other places, they're going there as international students as well. So it's not just only about who you are in China, but worldwide, you are an international student and you have the international background and you have the ability to understand culture and adapt yourself in a way that no other local people would be able to do that. So here, I think your chance comes in. If you persevere enough, then along the way, you will see the results. So today's session is all about startup fundamentals and how to get started. Today, we're not going to talk about a lot of technical stuff or give you tips on, okay, do this for your startup, do that for your startup. Today is going to be what is really a startup and how can you start? How can you generate new ideas? So those are going to be our key goals for today. And then later on, day by day, we will have 6-7 lectures. And along the way, you will not only learn about how to start a startup, but also like how to fund, how to manage teams, how to raise funds, how to build investor relationships, how to do market strategy research, how do you build MVP. A lot of different things are coming up. But for today, let's ask you guys, what is a startup? If anyone is interested, please raise your hand and just speak up. Anyone interested in saying what? You don't have to be correct. You just give a definition of what is a startup from your perspective.
Uh, then I try to say something. It's me, Chris.
Yeah, okay. So everyone, if you could open up your camera, then it's gonna be easier for all of us to know each other because we are not in person. So I want everyone to have a personal connection as well to see who the other person is and build a connection even if you're online. So please feel free to do that. That would be great for all of us to meet with each other. Okay, Chris, go on.
Okay, yeah, I just opened my camera. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
everyone can see me.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how the definition for startup, but for me, the idea for a startup is in the early stage, like you have an idea to build a business, and maybe you are in the initial stage with an idea. You maybe have already kind of an MVP, or your goal is to build something, and with the mind that this can turn out into a real business. This is, for my understanding, what a startup is.
Okay, great definition. You talked about from your perspective, but also there's a standard definition that we kind of like use in a startup world, that is like startup is like exploring the unknown and creating new stuff. And doing business is about cultivating within the known domain and pursuing growth. So this is a key definition. Startup is exploring the new stuff that maybe people haven't innovated yet and people doesn't know yet. And businesses, like, for example, there are a lot of examples, like you can start an import export business today, and it's a known domain, everyone has been doing it. Maybe you'll just bring some new solutions to solve some problems, but that cannot be called a startup. Startup is called where you are innovating something that solves a key problem that no one else is solving, or you have a vision that is way bigger than just earning money. So this is a key definition. I'll ask you guys one more question. I think you might be able to differentiate here. Which here are the startup companies and which one are the business companies? You can type it in the chat box, everyone, like which companies do you think are the startup companies and which ones are business companies? Yeah, you guys can just list them down, like which ones are startup and which ones are business companies. I'll just give you guys probably 2 minutes or 1 minute. I think it's easier. Okay. Um, I'll just go ahead and show you guys the results, which are startup companies and which ones are business companies. So yeah, most of you are right about startup companies, but I think you can now match with your imaginations. Maybe you thought, okay, this one is business, but actual that is a startup, or maybe you thought it's a startup, but it's a business. Like Airbnb, SpaceX, Snapchat, Robinhood, Zoom, WeWork, Palantir, Stripe, and nowadays OpenAI, Anthropic. Those are also startup companies. And if you look at the business companies, what we call kind of like conglomerates, like P&G, Target, Coca-Cola, then there's Samsung, Ford, Walton, General Motors. Even Apple is like a startup company. It's started from a startup. Microsoft, Google, these all started as a startup. So, and I think as we go further, you'll be able to differentiate why it's called a business company and why it's a startup company. So here's the key differentiation. In terms of aspects, we have growth, risk, innovation, market, funding. So startups are fast and scalable, but businesses are slow and steady. And startups has high risk, but also high innovation. But in businesses, you have lower risk and also incremental innovation. Like you just solve one or two problems here and there, not like enter industry or like a big problem. In startups, you create or disrupt new markets. Like for example, OpenAI came in and they disrupt the whole AI market. And the business is operating in existing markets, which I already mentioned about import, export, all of this stuff. And in startups, you get funding from a venture capitals, angels. In businesses, you need a lot of capitals ahead to start loans or personal savings. One more key thing that I haven't mentioned here is like to start a startup, you don't need any money. Especially nowadays, you don't need any money. You have all the free tools. Even if you don't know how to code, if you don't have a technical background, you can start anything right away. For building an MVP, like the basic version, and launching it into the market, letting people use your product and getting feedback, till then you don't need any money. You can use some of your own money, but that's not going to be that much. You don't need enough. If you just save some lunch money, like let's say your one meal per day, that kind of money, if you save that for a month or something, I think you are good to launch your startup as well nowadays. I will share more tools of what are the tools that you can use to launch your startup in the days ahead. But for businesses, you need an office, you need to take loans, you need to like register your business at first, and then you start offering services. But for startups, you at first launch, you see the demand, and then you maybe go into getting funds and like maybe having offices later on when you have maybe hundreds of employees. But nowadays, even like small, like big startups, they're running their company with maybe 10, 20, at most 30 people. If you look at, I think Cursor, they have only, I think, 15 employees. Cursor is like $100 million plus company, but they only have 15 employees. So that's, you have low cost of starting a startup, but high revenue later on. So here you can see the marginal cost. So starting a startup has lower marginal cost, but for businesses, at first when you start, you have a lot of cost, but later the cost goes down. But when you kind of like go bigger and try to expand into more markets, the cost goes higher and higher because you need to hire more employees, you need to promote more, you need to compete with your competitors. So a lot of things can come in the way. And in terms of growing profit, at the very beginning, startup companies doesn't have profit. That's why you would see companies that they are not having profits for 5 years, 10 years. But then after that time, it gets a kind of spike and it kind of goes upwards and upwards. But in terms of businesses, at first you start with some good profit and then it goes up, and it can go up to a certain point and then it will go down. This is what's been happening, unless it's like a big conglomerate, like let's say Samsung, who has different sections. They're not only producing phones. If you go to Korea, you will see Samsung is everywhere. There's even an exam called a Samsung exam. So to be able to get into that company, employees need to give an exam. So because they have real estate, construction, mobile phones, electronics, everything. So they are a different thing. But if you are planning to do a business, then there will come a point where you are not being able to maximize your profits, and then it will go down, or eventually you'll have to fire a lot of employees, or maybe there will be new competitors who's going to take over your business or have new solutions for that. That's why we kind of always suggest people, even if you have a business or you have thought about business, how can you turn that into a startup? How can you kind of modify the version to make it a startup so that you have lower marginal cost but higher return, and you can solve a problem, a bigger problem of this world that a lot of people have been suffering from? So that's the key thing that I've been thinking about. And also we want to have you guys the mindset of a startup founder. The mindset is everything. Then whenever you come across a problem, with that mindset, with that identity, you'll be able to turn around and solve that problem really quickly. So these are the qualities of startup. So if you think about value, like what value you're creating in this world, in terms of logistics, let's say like the courier services, there's only 6% of value that you can create in this world. The percentage of impact that you're having. Retail, 24%, film and television, 25%. But if you go into the other side of the story, software, internet or SaaS, chips, mobile phones, these have, you can see, the software or internet, it has the most higher impact in this world. Especially nowadays in the modern world, it's going to have more and more. It's up to 95%, or even sometimes it can go to 99%, especially in this AI world. So that's how you have to think, like, how can I integrate technologies? Because I think a lot of you, when I had interviews with you guys, some of you are thinking in one direction, but one more key thing that you can always think about, how can I include some sort of tech, not just a simple tech that anyone can integrate, but how can I turn things around? Maybe I'll have to learn one or two tools here and there, but in the internet, you will find everything available. And how can I integrate those things and launch it with something tech that people can use from wherever they want? Because when it's a product-based business, let's say Walmart sells a lot of different projects. As if it's a courier service, you'll have to go deliver. You need a lot of logistical things, which is kind of hard, especially when you're starting as a student and you don't have a lot of financial backing and everything. So if you look at the growth roadmap, so usually the startups has like plus 7% growth, weekly growth rate. And then per year, it has 3.8 times return. And then in 2 years, you see the return goes maybe 4 times or even 10 times of what it has. So in the first year, the growth rate is 33.8, but only in the second year, it goes up to 1,144. And in the upcoming years, it goes more and more like that. It's like exponential growth and compound growth that we call. And in terms of revenue, monthly, you can earn probably like at first $1,000, but in just 2 years, it can go up to $1.3 million per year. It's like a general view, but it differentiates based on different startups. In 4 years, it can go up to 2 billion per year. It's based on Paul Graham's statistics, which is kind of old now. Nowadays, it's more. So if you look at the qualities more, you will see there are some existing rules in the market. So the traditional businesses, they perform around these boundaries. Like, okay, we have rules, we'll have to do certain things in this way, that way. But where startups comes, they breaks those boundaries, and that's where they're born. Like companies like DJI, and now in China, you have Pinduoduo, which now went global and became Temu. DJI, which also originated from China and now is a global company. You cannot think about drones or cameras without DJIs. Apple, Uber, Microsoft, like these are big companies, but what I'm not asking all of you guys to build something like this in the second day or like the moment you are starting a startup, because these companies even needed decades to go to the point where they are now. Like Microsoft has been doing business for maybe over 30, 40 years now. So that's why we know it. Apple and Pinduoduo, I think it started even like 10 years ago. So these are the things, and that's where startups creates new rules. So when you are entering into a market, when you are thinking about an idea, think about how can I break the norm and create something valuable that maybe I have faced in my own life, or maybe some of my friends faced. So just let's go and talk with them. Let's get to know their feedback and create a solution that can help solve a problem of a specific group. You don't need to look at the broader market. Okay, how can I solve world's 8 billion people's problem? That's not possible. That's never practical possible. Even companies like Apple, Microsoft, they're not solving all of the population's problem. You should start from a niche market. Like, how can I solve a problem for maybe 10 people, 20 people, 100 people? That's when you start. And once they start having solution, their life becomes easier. They will recommend it to their friends, their family, and that's how you expand from your own niche. And then later you introduce other features. What mistake most of the startups make is that when they're starting, they target a big market, they include so many features that makes it so complicated that users don't really understand what's the purpose of this thing. So that's why we recommend that, or in the startup industry, it's recommended that you focus on one specific thing, one or two things that solves a specific problem of a user. Then from there on, you can build on and you can have more features and everything. So why startup? We're talking about like starting a startup, but why do we need to start a startup? Is there any value in it? And why not go and get a job and like, have a good life? So startup is the best way to create values. And in every generations, there has been something that have created values. In 1930s, like the managers, like the white collar, blue collar jobs, they have created values. They have brought in a lot of industrial revolution. But in 1960s, the investor, people who got a little bit rich, they started pouring their money back to the market. That's where the market boomed. But in 2000s, it's all about founders. As good as founders are, and as good they can create new technologies or new solutions, new services, the market will get bigger and bigger, and people will start having more values. If you look at a lot of films and movies and read histories, you'll see how the world was like maybe 20, 30 years ago and how it is. It's unimaginable. People from 20, 30 years ago, they couldn't even imagine how things would turn out. And even nowadays, when we are like um, from the 2000s, we are living in here, we are young, you can see some of the things are still unimaginable. Like we don't still know yet like how AI is going to turn out, what's the world going to look like. That's where the founders can define the future. So if you want to create value in the startup, that's not value in the world, that's not the only reason. But you can also have power, having an influence. And I'm not talking about like kind of political kind of power where you just go on and like obliterate someone, like say, hey, I'm gonna take away your land. It's not that kind of power. Power means having an influence, having your voice. Let's say you feel like AI is not going to take away people's job. You have that strong mandate, but how can you like propose this strong mandate to the world? How can you let people know and let people believe, okay, this is what's going to happen? If you don't have an influence, people are not going to believe what you're saying. But if you have a startup, if you have built something, you have created value, people will obviously be, okay, no, this person have created something and built something for the world, and now he has this opinion on this one. And then you can see eventually that can turn out to be true. Like a lot of people like Warren Buffett, they have kind of predicted what's going to happen in the future markets. They have invested in a lot of different companies, and that's where because why their opinion mattered, because they have built something great before. And obviously, lastly, money. Let's be real, okay? We don't want to only talk about values. We're gonna do good for the people. Like when we were child, when we were writing, what's your aim in life? We always wrote, okay, we're gonna be doctor, engineer. Like, why you're gonna be doctor? Oh, I'm gonna treat people in the poor area. We used to do a lot of those kind of talking. But in reality, value is one thing, but also without money, without being able to sustain your life, you'll also not be able to create value, and you'll not be able to motivate it. This is the real reason. So yes, it's a reason, but if you want to build something great and for long term, then this is not the main reason. This will Once you build something great, the money will come along the way. Uh, at the very beginning, when you start, we look for funds and how can we get this thing. We become so much we get to think a lot about why we're not getting money, how we're going to raise it. But instead of focusing on how can we make our product better, how can we use the existing tools and resources to like launch it into the market or take it to the next level, we think about like raising money. So we're going to talk more about how to go there from step by step later on. But for now, one more thing here also comes into play. You need to have your own freedom, creativity, and you can have growth. You need to have financial goals, and obviously at the end, impact. So also we learn about why startup and why not startup. To be honest, it's fucking miserable. I mean, it's true. You can ask to any founder, no one's gonna say, okay, it was an easy sailing, it was an easy ride. Like I just had an idea, I just found a co-founder, and I just launched it in the market. People just came and gave me money, and yeah, I'm now a millionaire. No, it's not. It doesn't happen like that. It's years and years of perseverance, years and years of rejections. Like um, people would say, I have become numb to pain and rejection. People doesn't even feel the pain or rejection anymore. Like there are founders who have like been rejected like hundreds, if not thousands of times, but still, as I told you, it's all about identity. They had that belief in their mind, no, this is gonna work out, and they just kept iterating. They just kept making their idea better and better, and eventually people saw their passion, people saw what solution they're bringing into the market, and that's where it boomed. You can see even 5 years ago, we could not even think that AI is going to take over this much. When we talked about AI, like, oh, it's a gimmick, it's a scam, it's not going to work like that. How can it replace humans, or how can it do this? But now if you go to any platforms, Gemini, OpenAI and chatbot, Anthropic, if you just ask it to do some research, it can do it in minutes better than humans for now. I'm not talking about all the comprehensive research for months and months, but you can see now we don't need that much of time. We don't need weeks or months to know about something. That's how this thing works. And also there are a lot of other comments like I have not slept well since I can't remember when. And also but my girlfriend doesn't even ask me what's wrong when I wake up. These are comments from our previous mentor. He has been through this journey as well. And for me personally, when we've been launching startups, I don't know how much you guys know about me, but I have also been launching startups from an early age. Um, if I mentioned in China, I have launched 2 or 3, and it's been so hard. And still there are, but some of them is still working in a really good way and raised money. But also currently, I'm the ones that I'm working on. I'll share with you guys later on. But it's really really like I would say hard in a really short sentence, but the the feel of doing the startup and the feel of solving a problem is way greater than having any pain. I think once you start your journey, you'll feel that. And it's the best orgasm in the world. I'm using a lot of words. Forgive me for that. But having a startup, once you have that identity, once you have that mentality of, okay, I'm solving a problem, not just having idea of like earning money in my mind, you'll see what kind of change it can make. So let's go on and ask one more question. Like, but we talked about this and that. Isn't starting a startup risky? I mean, a lot of the times in the market, people ask this question, but in reality, not really. Like, no things are really as risky as they seem. So, like when you go and ask your friends, hey, let's start a startup, they would give you a lot of reasons like, hey, it's risky. There's no financial, no confirmation that you're gonna have this amount of money. You don't have a fixed income. But as I showed you the graph, this one, yes, your life as a founder will also be like that. At the very beginning, you'll have a little, and if you ask a lot of founders, they have just lived with instant noodles for like few years. Um, and that's where there came a point where the startup kind of blew off and they started having way more profit than their friends or peers and everything. And that's where people come and cheer for you, like, okay, this is my friend, this is my ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend. Like, this is what happens like when people have success in general. But in terms of startup, it's also similar. It seems risky at the very beginning, but it's not really. As long as you pursue it, it's similar to any other job in the world, but better. So what are the risks? The risk is passing through your 20s and 30s in a lazy, fat, and boring job. It's the definite risk. If you talk about risk, if you imagine your life that after 30s, in your 40s or 50s, or in your deathbed, you're thinking about, okay, I wish I could take more risk. I wish I would have done this thing or that thing. We don't want to have regrets. This is where startup is really fun because you get to take a lot of risk. You don't need to ask a lot of people. You just feel the intuition, you talk with your co-founders, and you just do that stuff. Even if it fails, even if it doesn't work, you have 1,000 other ways to go for. So that's why startup it sometimes changes people's life. But to be honest, from this program, even if you at the end of this program, I don't know how your mindset is going to change and if you're going to launch a startup or not, but people would encourage you to play it safe along the way. A lot of the times, your friends, family, like, hey, play it safe, don't do this, just get a job and just settle down. Let's get married, have a family. A lot of the things will come in the way because this is what they have done before, and that's what they want you to believe because they believe this is the bubble. You cannot do outside of this boundary. So as a founder, you'll have to break that boundary and invent something that you think are righteous for the society and for this world. If you feel, okay, the world or our community needs this solution, that's the right way to go. And these things will happen for a lot of reasons: jealousy, ignorance, and also sometimes they have regret among them. They don't want others to like go far passing them. They don't want to see them to a top level, and they compare themselves in a lower level. That happens usually. I don't know how much in different society, but in general it happens. But that's why as a startup founder, you'll have to be selfish. At first, you'll have to think about yourself and the thing that you want to pursue. Then after a certain point, when you create some value, when you have a lot of people in your team, people are believing in you, people are cheering for you, then you can like start giving your values to others as well. So why us and why me? So why me? Like we're supposed to have our mentor Kohan, but unfortunately, because of the business, we couldn't have it. But why am I taking this one? Because I didn't want to give up on you guys. There are some people like Chris who I think applied last year, like a year ago, to be a part of this program, which we really appreciate. And also, we have seen the enthusiasm from people from previous cohort. There were two cohort. One was like kind of a camp, and one was in Beijing in person. So I think you guys have the belief that you can create something great with us. And we have talked a lot about why us, what value can you get. I'm not going to repeat that again. But for me, I have been through this whole journey from the very beginning. I was able to found this organization in 2024. And from there on, the journey has been amazing. And all the things that I'm saying, this has been my personal learnings and the learnings from the mentor, not only one mentor, but multiple mentors. And I have some great mentors nowadays as well. And so many times I seek advice from them. So I can assure you that you can believe in myself, even though I'm not like really like 40 in my 40s, 50s and have a lot of experience, but the experience that I had in terms of startups, because to be honest, startup is my life. Even though I'm starting right now, my personal goal and the first priority is startup, and then comes academic. So if you believe in me, believe in SGA, within the next few weeks, when you start getting those values one by one, I think you'll see if it's worth it or not. But for now, I can assure you that if you go along this journey, and then you'll not regret it. So one more key thing now, going apart from that, you can ask yourself, like, should I start a startup? And how do you know if you should start a startup or not? So there are some kind of scales, there are some kind of measures that you can look for. One key thing, you guys can take screenshot or take pictures of this, like 12 item grid scale. And the other one is Holland code test. This kind of like tests you based on like what are the qualities you have. It will ask you a lot of different questions. So even though I wanted to have you guys do it now, I think you guys can also do it at home. But for now, you guys can scan the QR code on the left side, like 12 item grid scale. Just take 2 or 3 minutes. This is also going to work as a break for us, and just answer those 3 questions. And then the right side, you can do it maybe later at home and share the results with me personally or in the group chat, however you like. It's going to give you an idea of like, and it's going to give you a score if you should start a startup or not. And if you feel like if you get a really bad score, don't also be discouraged, because that means you need to improve in some areas, and that's what we are here for. So okay, let's take 2 to 3 minutes or at most 5 minutes. When you're done, just send the emoji in the group chat, and then yeah, we'll share the results. Okay, if you guys are done, then we can start. But if not, that's also all right. Because I will send you guys an updated version as well, which where you can also test yourself in a better way. But I'll just discuss a few more questions from here that you guys have probably seen, like the question that it asks. I have overcome setbacks to conquer an important challenge, and like new ideas and projects sometimes distract me from previous ones. You can kind of think about why this question was asked. It's asking whether you can be persistent enough or not. A lot of the times when we take interviews of students who are applying to SGA or for other projects, we ask this question of like, what single habit that you have been doing for the past 5 years continuously, no matter what kind of disruptions comes in the way, you have always done the thing. It can be a hobby like gardening. It can be eating maybe vegan food. It can be, let's say, praying every day. Like, what is a single thing that you have consistently done, no matter what kind of things came in your way? So this is kind of a same questions of like whether, because a lot of times we have a lot of new ideas, like that kind of distracts us from the current one that we have. We think, okay, maybe that idea is better. Maybe if I pursue that, I'll have a better future. I will have revenue faster. But in reality, when you go and pursue that path as well, there will also come a point, a challenge that will feel unsolvable, and then you'll have another idea and you'll jump into that. So that's what most of the founders, when they start, they make mistakes. They go to a point, this hit a wall, and they stop there. They try to take another direction, and they keep doing this for years and years, and then it comes like they are in their 30s, in their 40s, or in their 50s, and then they want now a secure life, and they believe that okay, startup is not for them, and they can't pursue that. So that's why at the very beginning I asked, like, if you guys have an idea, just stick to that for a few years, at least like 5 years. Startups usually, for a startup to see the real results, it needs 10 years to go global and have like big impact. At the very beginning, is like small group of people, maybe small amount of revenue. You're having a like a decent life, but for to go to a lavish level or having a worldwide impact, it takes at least 10 years. So there are also other questions that you can see that I think you will get a sense of like what answer should you give, but I want you guys to give the real answer so that you know which stage you are in currently and improve from there. Because if you always feel like okay, I'm the best in what I'm thinking, you might be wrong, because you will not be able to get feedbacks. You are not going to be willing to get feedbacks from others, and that's what like mistakes most of the people make. They don't want to get feedback, but feedback is a great tool for you to improve as a person and also improve your startup. Um, and also there are also other questions like I'm a hard worker, which is general. Everyone is a hard worker, and no off like limits in that. And also there's one key thing, like I have been obsessed with a certain idea or project for a short time, but later lost interest. You can see this also aligns with the same persistent mindset. Um, One key thing also here is that a question, like I often set a goal, but later choose to pursue a different one. So if you set a goal, as long as it's in your within the reach, a lot of the times it's not within your reach, but if you keep pursuing, it's gonna be. Um, and I finished whatever I begin. I have achieved a goal that took years of work. Same thing. Um, I'm diligent. What's your original intention of startups? The thing itself, fame and fortune, or self-motivation? These are multiple choices. You can choose multiples. Obviously, fame and fortune is one thing that I mentioned in the previous one, like money can be a tool. But also, if the thing itself and self-motivation is your thing, that's going to be the biggest driver of moving it forward. Because if the ultimate goal is fame and fortune, there will come a time when you'll not be able to gain those things, and then you'll give up. But if the tools are the thing itself that you're building, you're excited whenever you hear a solution about that problem, you become excited, you have self-motivation. No matter where you're sleepy or not, you will get down to work and pursue that thing. So yeah, this is the thing. I think we will do the other tests as well later on. I hope you guys have taken screenshots of this page. So now that you have given the test, what do you think? Like, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Just feel free to open up your camera, your mic, and just tell me, what do you think are the top 3 qualities a startup founder must have? I think 1 or 2 you might already know from what I've said, but also, yeah, feel free to say by yourself.
We type it or we speak?
Yeah, you guys can speak.
I come up with 2 right now. Like, one thing for me is I just don't care what other people think. I mean, right now, I'm not sure like if other people know that, but I'm a PhD student. I should maybe focus completely on my studies, but I have something in my mind. I believe totally in that, and I don't care what other people think. I do that, and I already have some feedback from my audience where I know this is the group of audience. I know they will like it. It's just a matter of time for me. This is like one point. Another point I think is I learn everything myself. Like in the very beginning, well, I don't have capital for this. So when I have something in my mind and I want to do it, I do not accept that this is not possible. I just find out everything that I need. If it's coding, if it's some softwares I need to use, I learn these softwares. I find some ways to learn them, and I think this is something a founder, in my opinion, must have to because there are always some problems that you will face, and you cannot, because there's a problem, then stop. It's maybe a little bit similar to PhD. That you will have some problems and somehow you need to get a result, otherwise you will not get your degree. And I think a startup, or at least for me, what I do, I'm not sure if it's actually a startup or a business, but for me, it's just you need to improve month by month or week by week, day by day, and constantly improve yourself. Read books, watch things to learn everything. Yeah, these are 2 things. I don't know the third one.
Sure. Is there anyone else who would like to just say quickly, what do you think are the top 3 qualities? You don't have to write, just speak out and also connect with other people as well, because when you answer, other people knows that you exist as well, which can help you later on when you're building your startup. Throughout this whole journey, you can ask advice and seek advice from your peers as well. So yeah, if anyone is interested.
Okay, let me try. Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa, and I think top 3 qualities here. The first is probably never give up. That's what we are talking today, because big ideas, they really cost the time and efforts. So, and the second thing I think is to be able to see the picture from different perspective, from helicopter view, to build a long-term strategy, and at the same time to be able to divide this into small steps, to be able to move forward every time and set the right goals on each direction. And the third thing, probably, it's a combination of the hard skills and soft skills, because from first point of view, we have to be intelligent in the area of our startup. The second thing is it's very important to be not just intelligent, but be able to be socialized with people and to be able to build these connections. Build the connections probably with some other founders or with some business angels and so on. So I think this combination of these things would be able to bring the success in the term of startup.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to go on? Otherwise, I will reveal the answers. Okay, I think we can go. So you can see, I think a lot of the things that you guys, 2 of you said, Lisa and Chris, I think it kind of matches, but also it's like really straightforward. Determination, resilience, thinking differently. I think you guys have covered most of it. But if you want to say in short, this is it. This is the top 3 qualities that has been found after like thousands of surveys among founders. This is what they have found. Like a founder has a key determination. Like Chris said, I don't really care of what other people say now. Obviously, you can get feedback as you mentioned, but also you have to have a goal of like, okay, I'm gonna achieve this thing. I'm gonna do this thing no matter what happens. And then after I finish doing that thing, then later I can think otherwise. Okay, which direction, other direction can I go? But until you achieve that thing, not changing your mind. And resilience, which we already discussed, and thinking differently. As a founder, the key differentiation between you and the person who's doing a job is that you will have to think different. When you are going through a problem, instead of like just going and asking people of like to help them, but at first you think of like, what are the possible ways that this problem can be solved? And you find not just option A or B, you find option A, B, C, D, E, F, like multiple ways that the problem can be solved. And then you can seek advice, you can ask for help, and then you kind of try to solve that one. There are also other I think I already mentioned about why determination is crucial. It helps you to face failures, uh, give you long-term goals, and also it's a self drive. And this is the foundation. Determination is the foundation, and then other skills builds upon that. And other key factors that you can have is quick learning ability. Because as a founder, you'll see like now, especially nowadays, every day there are no new AI tools are coming in. The thing that took maybe ages before now takes seconds to solve. So that's why you also have to learn that by yourself and also train your team. Like, hey, this tool came up. Let's use this tool to make our process faster. Let's evolve fast, because growth is the key thing in a startup world. You need to go through this phase and then just solve. Okay, just keep a look in this one. I'll just open to it. One more thing here is decisiveness. Other is resourcefulness, or networking, mental agility, self-reflection. I think networking in our generation, it's really overhyped. We go to every single event that we can go. We try to connect with people, but that's not what networking means. Networking is having a deep connection with a few people. It's not about how many people you know. It's about how much do you know about some group of people. So if you are becoming a founder, getting to know about your investors, getting to know about your peers, people who are in the same industry as you, or people who are in a different industry. A lot of the times we only focus of our own industry. Let's say I'm building, let's say, image generation tool, and I'm only talking from people in my industry. I'm not talking with people who are in the AI industry, who are in the agriculture industry, who are in the biotech industry. Why? Because I think I will not get any value from that. But there might come a time where your startup needs to include a new feature, and then you can ask for help from that industry. Like, hey, I've been thinking about integrating this thing into my platform, but I don't have any idea about that. Can you help me with that? That's where the networking comes in. But if you have maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people in your WeChat, but you barely talk with 10 or 20, that's not networking. That's just like adding more people in your WeChat. So that's what I would like to ask you guys to focus on. Like, when you are going and trying to build new connections, try to build meaningful ones. Try to know that person. Maybe just go out a few times, share ideas. That's how you will build. And then I would also encourage you guys who are here to build those connections, even if you're not in person. Then let's move on. So this is a few key lessons from top founders. So their path to innovation. So Warren Buffett, he started doing taxes at 14, made money in high school and delivering newspaper and selling used golf balls. Elon Musk sold his first video game at 12, showing early passion for tech. Mark Zuckerberg got into coding in high school and made a media player called Snaps, that music you'd like. So this is how from a very early age, they have tried so many different gigs. At the very beginning, Mark Zuckerberg didn't have any idea about Facebook. Elon Musk didn't have any idea about SpaceX, Tesla. They just tried to solve a key 1 or 2 problems, and then later that turned out to having more knowledge and going into a big industry. So that's why at the very beginning I said, if you're trying to start a startup, don't need to look for a big industry and how much revenue can you earn. Focus on problems, not ideas. So when to start a company? What is the right time? Now, I would say as soon as possible. If you are thinking about doing something, don't just think about, okay, I need to find a co-founder, I need to raise funds, I need to build a product at first and launch. If you have an idea, with the tools that you have, go online, ask how you can do it, ask ChatGPT, are there AI models, how you can go step by step. Just start from today. Because today you have the idea, you don't know that tomorrow someone else would have the same idea or not. So the advantage that you can have in this market is that if you start early, if you grow early, other people will not be able to catch up. So that's why a lot of the times tell founders to launch as soon as possible, get feedback, move faster. And the timing, it matters, because as I told you, it's hard to nail. When you have competitors, it's harder. So my advice, just be ready and jump in. And what are the key things that you can do now? I would say 3 things if you're in college, in universities, it doesn't matter which part of your life you are. Hack. So what we mean by hack is not just about coding, it's about start with some side projects. Maybe build small rockets or whatever, build a small solution. Go, like if you're thinking about a product-based solution, go and sell that product, make that product in your home, maybe a small version, and try to sell it to someone outside. See if people really want it and what feedback they give you. It doesn't have to be that big. Meet potential co-founders and employees. You will have, I'm saying it really with emphasis, you will never again have such an opportunity to have this. Now you're in school maybe, or in your workplace, you have a lot of people around you, your friends, the people you know who have great skills, who are smart. This is a great time for you to go up to them and say, hey, I've been thinking about this thing, do you want to explore this thing? You don't need to ask them, hey, join this, I'll give you this much of equity, and then you will have to stay in the company for the next 4 years, 5 years. Those comes later, when you have a solid foundation and you are determined to pursue that. Because as a founder, when you have an idea, other people might not know about it. So at first, you'll have to have the same vision that you have. You'll have to let them believe the things that you believe in. And then they will have the same amount of drive and motivation as you to pursue that thing. That's why we call it co-founder, not employee. Employees just come to the company just to get bonuses, money. But co-founders are something we sometimes in the startup world, we call like co-founders are more important than your husband and wife. But this is true in the early stage. When you're starting out, your co-founders is the person who you can go to when you face problems, when you fight setbacks. They can guide you, they can give you motivation, or they can calm you down. It's the same for you. Your co-founders will help you in that way, and you will also have to help them in the same way as well. So get together with friends and work on ideas that solve your own problems or a problem for community. There are a lot of other things that I will not go deep into. You'll have to think outside of the box. Find a niche that, as I mentioned, and not stick to a classroom knowledge. Learn to code, because let's be honest, this is a tech world nowadays, and it's really easy to learn. Even if you don't know how to code, there's a thing called vibe coding, which is like you can go to platforms like Cursor, and Trick, and you can just give it prompts like how you do in ChatGPT, and it's going to generate all the code for you. You'll just have to learn the process of how can you integrate that code into like making an app, and how do you assemble those things, which can take you maybe 1 or 2 hours if you go and find in YouTube. Also, meet skilled people. As I mentioned, they could be our future co-founders or early team. Also, have fun. Have fun with your startup. Be friend with smart people, grow your network, learn a new language, understand other cultures, open up, and then which will open up the world. You can also learn about finance, because if you are becoming a CEO, you'll have to not only maintain the tech side, but also finance side, managing side. So learn about finance, budget well, be financially independent, and it starts from you. If you can manage your own finances well, then you will also be able to maintain the finances of a startup company. Learn how to take responsibility. A lot of the times, the founders that we make mistake when we are having success, we try to say, okay, this is my success. This is what I have done. But when it comes to setbacks, challenges, you say, okay, no, this team member made mistake. My co-founder didn't put enough time into it. That's a really bad habit as a founder. There's a thing that we say is that there's a differentiation between a leader and a boss. A leader is a person who always gives credits to their employees, their co-founders first, and a boss is someone who takes all this credit on himself. And this is the same. You can go in like a general company and you can see the differentiation. When you go to a company, you'll see this kind of culture. But when you go to a startup, you'll see like how the founders are doing, how the founders are treating their employees, their co-founders. They're chill. They're like meeting with all the people. At the very beginning, when you're starting a startup, they're not really your employees. They're your hourly team members. They're at the same level as you. And because you only have maybe 10 or 15 people. So you can just go talk with every one of them one by one, or just go out and just have fun. So to be able to learn that taking responsibility, you can lead a club, start a new club, execute real projects, and also you can arrange some events in your university as well. Lastly, prioritize mental health. A lot of the times we overlook onto that thing. Going into a startup industry, having that drive, it's really important, but also it's really important to keep going. And to be able to keep going, you need to have a really good mental health. So prioritize that, talk with your co-founders, talk with friends, just go out in the nature, face the stress and anxiety. Don't try to avoid it. The more you try to avoid it, the more it's gonna crush you. And if you need, seek help from anyone that you can think. Sometimes we think, okay, I might not have a good relationship with that person, but you can just go and talk about your problems and you'll see people are more empathetic than we think. So where to launch your startup? Where do you want to launch? Think about the ecosystem. A mix of tech, money, big market, smart folks. Like, what I mean by where do you want to start your startup or launch your startup is like, do you want to launch it here in China? Do you want to launch it in your own country? Do you want to launch it in the US or in any other market? Because at the very beginning, you have to focus on a specific niche, right? And then you can go and make the product available for everyone in the world. So do you want to start local or worldwide? My suggestion, or in general, when you ask the mentors or founders, they would say, start where you know the best, but aim to impact globally. Let's say, I know, Chris, you have shared an idea about how you want to start something related to German because you were German. Yeah, so that's your key area where you know that thing, you have the knowledge because you have grew up there from a very early age. You know the culture, how people think, how people talk, what are the processes that you use in a day-to-day life. That's the best where you can start. But obviously the aim will have to, okay, I'll impact globally. And sometimes this is where we make mistake. Like maybe we go to a different country, we start a new life and we think, okay, that is the right market for me. For some time it is, but if you want to launch in that, you will also have to have some team members who are from that same culture. Let's say you want to start your company in China. That's why we suggest a lot that you have a co-founder who is Chinese, who have that cultural norms, who knows those things. If you're starting a company that works with, let's say, Arabic languages, you'll have to have some person who is from that region, who knows the culture, and that can give you an edge into the market. Otherwise, even if you think you know a lot, eventually you don't. So just keep that in mind when you are launching your startup. I think that will give you an edge compared to others. Now, how to get started? Obviously, we talk about technology a lot, and a lot of the times we fear this thing as well. some people think like, I don't have a technical background. What can I do? You don't have to have a technical background. You can learn it, and you can, as I think Lisa also mentioned, like having the willingness to learn more. That is a good thing, because technology is not hard to learn. It's not something like, technology is even hard, like easier to learn than learning languages or learning math. So think about that thing and try to find the key areas where you need to improve. You don't need to learn all of the technological languages like C, Python, C++. As I mentioned, technology is not only about coding. Technology is all about how this thing works. How do I prompt an AI engine? How can I have more solutions into my startup that can be solved through tech? So that is a key thing that you can think about today. You can talk with your co-founder, do some research. That will give you a lot of different ideas. Obviously, you'll have to have an idea and interest. So that's why at the end of our today's session, we would ask you to explore new ideas. Like, list 10 ideas. If you have already started pursuing some ideas, great. If you haven't, if you're still confused of what you should do, in which areas you should do, this is your time. You have the next 1 week to explore and ideate and find what is your interest, which one you are good at, and which one you are not. Like, talk with people, find co-founders. A lot of different things will come in the way. And then obviously build. After you have done all those steps, it's your time to build. So the really important thing, co-founders. The search begins. So co-founders is not about finding or picking your friends. It's not just you're just going to your friend and say, just be a co-founder. You'll have to trust your intuition. Like, seek those people who grow with you, even if he's not the best friend of yours. Sometimes when we start a company or a startup with our best friend, and then there comes a conflict and it kind of ruins the whole startup. You'll have to seek people who have the similar values as you. I mean, even if not the similar, but what I mean by similar vision, he doesn't have to have the same personality as you, or same hobbies, same interests, but same vision. And obviously, he'll have to be like have expertise in some key areas that can help the startup to grow. Now, and lastly, you'll have to start right away. And how can you do that? So there's a startup, it's in the early age that we have started, that it's called comatch.ai. If you go and search, you'll be able to see, you can join the waitlist. It's going to be launched within the next 1 month or 2 months. This is a way, it's kind of like a Tinder for founders. This is a whole new level where we just swipe right or left. You can find people near you who have the similar ideas or interests and who also wants to start a startup. Because a lot of times when we talk with people from our cohort 1 or before that, they've struggled with this thing. They couldn't find a proper co-founder to start their startup. And because let's be real, we cannot really go to our best friend and say, hey, can you give me your CV? Can you tell me what are your skills? It's like taking an interview of your friend. And it's not the right one. It's not culturally normal. But in this platform, it's done in an AI-powered way that kind of like matches with the algorithm, with your interest, with your goals, if you have a startup, and what kind of skills you're looking for and looking into to find a co-founder. You can list all of them. There are a lot of different options. And based on that, the algorithm will find the right person and recommend you to that. And you can swipe right or left, and then you can meet with that person and then share your ideas. And if things work out, you can start with that person. If you feel like, okay, this is not the right person, you can go to the platform again and you can start swiping right or left. It's gonna be a whole new level. So if you haven't tried it, just join the waitlist, and hopefully soon you'll be able to find it. So the key qualities that you can look for into a startup co-founder, which is look for people who build things, who are determined, are smart in some ways, and are complementary to you. Like, maybe you are a nerd, you are an introverted person, maybe they are also like that. Or sometimes also can be a different one. Let's say you are introverted, you are a builder, you like to innovate, but you need someone who can go and talk in person, connect with people, connect with investors, give pitches, who needs to be extroverted. And that kind of make a all-around team. Usually 2 to 3 members in a team is the ideal way, but also you can have more or less. At least 2 people should be in a startup team to start. A solo founder can do, but not everything. Because when you come across a problem, you'll become discouraged and you'll not be able to pursue that thing further. So one key thing that always people asks me, like, what if I'm not a tech person? What if I don't have that background? Find a tech-savvy co-founders. Easy. Like, give them proper equity and also learn along the way. At first, share their idea, learn from them. And also, when you have a tech-savvy co-founder, it's going to be easier for you also to navigate. You can also learn from that person of like, how can you also have some sort of tech skills? So a clear idea is the foundation for growth. So how to get an idea? Okay, this doesn't work for you probably, Chris, but for other people who are here who doesn't have an idea, who are trying to find an idea, you can take a screenshot of this page as well. How to find a good idea of like, because idea comes first and then the startup second. So try to find a gigantic market or like a growing market. I'm not saying that you focus on like at first consuming the whole market, but find a market where you can get into, maybe in a specific area. And if you're a monopoly, like let's say you are the only person in that industry to solve this problem, that's a great. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, no,
Yes.
yes, the connection was lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just got disconnected in some ways. Okay.
By the way, may I get this opportunity to ask a question? You know, I was curious about. Okay,
yeah,
continue maybe later.
Sure, sure. No, you can ask questions. And when you have a question, please feel free to raise the hand or send a text in the text box. I can stop and yeah, Lisa, if you have a question, you can just.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious of the situation. You said it's like compulsory, like to find co-founder. What do you feel about this? You think it's, from your experience, is better to have a co-founder or still moving forward alone with the project, with this cohort or program?
Hi, I think the network is having some issues. But yeah, I'll share I'll answer your questions. So to answer your questions from my personal experience, it's better to have a co-founder, because when you have a co-founder, as I mentioned, it's a really it's not a really easy path, but the path gets easier. Because from my experience, if I share one thing, I have started like in China 3 startups. Even Startup Go Academy, this one where you are, this is like a from like nonprofit, but later it can turn out to be a VC. But without our other mentor, Sohan, it wouldn't have been possible. He was a resource guy. He paved the way. Like all of the budgeting and everything came from his side, and I was the one who was executing, who was building, who was doing this stuff. And also, if I talk one, I have one startup. It's called Campus Connect, which is like a internal hub for students in Duke University to socialize, to post about their ideas, to join events. And there we had 3 co-founders. And currently, which one I'm doing is comatch.ai. We have 4 co-founders, 3 team members. In total, 7 people in the team. Without them, the progress that it would have been never possible. So if I talk about that department, we have three key departments. One is front-end development, one is back-end, and other one is algorithm. So when you have a team, when you have co-founder, you can divide these responsibilities and the process gets faster and easier. So otherwise you will always have to do all things by yourself, and it kind of like slows you down. The things that you could achieve in 2 months, might take you maybe years. So that's why having co-founders can also give you new ideas to explore, new areas to explore. Like let's say you want to have a key function, but you don't exactly know how to go for that. That person can help you with that. And usually every person differs from each another. So everyone has some values to offer, which you can get. So having 2-3 people in your team can obviously give you an edge. Does that answer my question?
Yes, thank you. And are you like providing like around 1 week to like settle these kind of things in this program?
Oh,
before
no.
next Saturday?
It's not really like you have to find a co-founder within 1 week. We're not going to push you for finding a co-founder 1 week. What I mentioned is that the key thing would be like within the next 1 week, just find an idea that you want to pursue. You don't have to find a co-founder, but I would obviously encourage you guys to talk with people, like talk with your friends or people who are around you, share your idea, like, hey, I have discovered it. Then maybe after week 3 or 4, around that time, if you can find a co-founder, that would be a sweet spot, because I think after week 3, we'll start building MVP, the minimum viable product. That the idea that you have, now you'll go into building product for that and later launching it. So at that time, having a co-founder can be valuable, but even after that, you can find it, you can keep searching, and then hopefully eventually you'll be able to find. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, I'll start sharing my screen here one more time. Okay. So the thing is, like, one key thing in the startup world is that you must work the opposite angle, like thinking first of the public. So what means is, like, most people think first of what they want to express or make, then find the audience for their idea. So you need to keep your focus on the changing needs, the trends that are washing through them. So for example, you find the idea, and you are always sticking to that, but you are not adapting to the new things that are coming along the way. Let's say you're starting a company or startup where you are providing some sort of services, and you have determined that you're going to provide the services for the next 20 years. But within the next 20 years, the whole market has changed in some ways. So you always have to adapt and think from that angle. So this is kind of like a summary, finding your idea. If you have tech co-founder, that's great. If you don't, try to like learn some stuff here and there, or some tools. Be tech savvy. Tech savvy doesn't mean that you always have a programming skill. It means you have that mindset and you are learning some stuff here and there. Doesn't matter what age you are, doesn't matter which industry you are in. Even if you're in the retail industry, like import export, if you can integrate some tech in there, this will differentiate you from the traditional local businesses who are just doing it as usual, that we have done in 19th century. The thing that can differentiate you in the 20th century is the inclusion of tech. That's why we are emphasis on this thing a lot. And obviously find niche markets, a warm niche, and try to find that CAGR, which is the compound annual growth rate. When you're going into a market, try to see what's the CAGR of that market, like how much this market is growing annually. And based on that, you can just go with it. But what I would suggest more is that instead of just focusing on going into industry that you don't know about anything, like focus on the thing that you are interested in, that you have worked in, you have experience in that industry, and find problems from that industry. Finding idea is all about finding problems. It's not about finding a fancy idea that people would love, because most of the time people wouldn't love your first product. They would hate it. They would say, what are you building? It's nonsense. If people say that, you can think you are in the right track. If people say, oh my God, it's so beautiful, you have done a really great job, that means they are lying, and also it's not a really great product. If you can build your first version in a really good way, anyone can build that as well. So you'll have to build something with people's feedback and with a really basic version that solves a specific problem. Then on top of that, you can build one another. Because when you're building a complex version of any product, you'll have to literate other people. You'll have to educate of, okay, this is how you use it. This is how you need to navigate through that. But if it's like simple one or two, you can just show one or two options and people will be able to catch up with it and they will integrate in their life. And embrace early imperfections, as I mentioned. Imperfections is the key that will help you to drive and overcome biases. A lot of the time you'll have biases. Like you think that this is the right way to do it, but maybe your co-founder is saying, okay, no, let's go in this way. Or other team members are saying, let's go in this way. But you're only believing in your own biasness. You're not taking feedback or ideas from others. So as a leader, when you're building a team, always speak for last. Let your other team members speak. It doesn't matter if it's a lower level team member, like this is just a new one, or if it's an experienced one. At first, hear from them, and then make your conclusion, and then choose the right way to go for it. You can validate your idea in different ways, like selling versus building, like whether you want to sell first or you want to build first, and also clarity and focus. Having a vision is really important, which we're going to talk about. Like, what is your ultimate vision? It's not what you think. It's a different one that I'm going to discuss later. So if you are a first-time startup founder, you're in a really sweet spot. So I would say don't fear about making shit. I have said this a countless time already. Like, if you haven't built startups before, it's really easier for you to think in different ways. Like, okay, this should be really perfect. It should be this and that. But to be honest, at the very beginning, it's a stage for you to make mistakes and fail, because that's the right way to learn. I can tell you countless of things. I can share my failure stories. I can tell you, okay, this is the right way to do. But if you're not trying that by yourself, testing out, which we call pilot programs, you just test out the product, then you'll not be able to learn these things. So just don't fear making shit. And also obviously ignore my biases. Okay, I would like to give you guys some closing ideas, which is like, startups are like a pass or fail course. So please optimize for passing. It's not about whether you can get like a really great score, like 100 out of 100. It's about whether you are meeting the standards or not, whether you are like going for it or not. And also be obsessive about the quality of the product and the user experience. Don't focus on the features, focus on the quality. Like if you have built a product that has such a good quality and user experience, you'll see people would love it. And doesn't matter what the price is, people would be able to pay for it. And don't try to look down upon your startup. If you feel like, okay, maybe if I offer all this price, people would buy it. Actually not. If you have a great product, like let's say today, if ChatGPT raises their price from $20 per month to $50 per month, people would still use it because they have integrated this thing in their life. So because they have built that kind of quality and user experience, that you cannot negate that. So at the very beginning, you don't need to fear about prices at much. The only key thing that you need to focus on is the quality. And the other thing is, things will look impossibly broken many times on the way to success. Just don't be afraid and keep going. So now I would like to get some answers from you guys. We have discussed a lot of things, and today was mainly about fundamentals, finding your ideas and everything. So just if you have any ideas for now, this is an open stage. You guys can start asking questions and we will discuss some more things as well. Yeah, anyone from you guys have any questions? Not only from today's lecture, but in general, whether you're not sure about something, you can just ask.
What was the question?
Okay, the question was like, if you have any questions from today's lecture or about anything in general, finding your idea, or if you have idea, what are the next steps that you need to do? Any idea, any questions that you have, you can ask me right now.